The Chagos Islands, a remote archipelago in the Indian Ocean, have long symbolized colonial injustice, strategic secrecy, and international legal wrangling. Now, in a historic move, the United Kingdom has agreed to transfer sovereignty of the islands to Mauritius.
Good afternoon. A few moments ago, I signed a deal with a UK-US base on Diego Garcia. This is absolutely vital for our defence and intelligence, and therefore for the safety and security of the British people. The full assessment of why this is so important is highly classified.
After more than 6 decades of political struggle, legal battles, and emotional pleas from displaced islanders, this turning point marks the end of an era and the beginning of a complex new chapter. To understand the significance of this decision, we must go back more than 2 centuries. The Chagos Islands were ceded by France to Britain in 1814 under the Treaty of Paris. For over a century, they were administered as part of the British colony of Mauritius. But in 1965, just 3 years before Mauritius gained independence, Britain unilaterally detached the Chagos archipelago and created the British Indian Ocean Territory. It was a calculated geopolitical move and a controversial one. The real turning point came in the early 1970s, when Britain forcibly expelled over 1,500 Chagosians from their homeland to make way for a joint UK-US military base on the largest island, Diego Garcia. Most of the displaced were sent to Mauritius and the Seychelles, where many struggled in poverty and exile. The trauma of that forced displacement still echoes today. Diego Garcia, meanwhile, became one of the most important US military installations outside of North America. From there, the United States launched missions during the Cold War, the Gulf War, and post-9/11 operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. The island has also been linked to controversial CIA rendition flights. Strategically located between Africa and Southeast Asia, Diego Garcia serves as a critical hub for intelligence and long-range bombing capabilities. Despite international condemnation and mounting legal pressure, the UK maintained control over the islands. That began to change in 2019 when the International Court of Justice issued an advisory opinion declaring the UK's administration of the islands illegal. The United Nations General Assembly followed with a resolution demanding the return of the archipelago to Mauritius. Though non-binding, these decisions put the UK on the wrong side of global opinion and international law. Fast forward to 2025, after years of diplomatic negotiations and a decisive ruling from the UK High Court, Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government has agreed to transfer sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. In announcing the deal, Starmer emphasized that the UK had negotiated strong protections to maintain the Diego Garcia base and secure British and Allied interests in the region. Under the agreement, the UK and US will retain long-term use of Diego Garcia through a 99-year lease with Mauritius. Mauritius, in return, receives compensation estimated in the billions. Though the government has not disclosed exact figures, a significant portion of the funding will be directed toward economic development and a trust fund for displaced Chagosians. Celebrations erupted in Mauritius as the news broke. At the Chagos Refugees Group headquarters, firecrackers lit the sky and tears of joy flowed. The reaction in the UK was mixed. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch called the move Labour chaos, accusing the government of surrendering strategic territory and burdening taxpayers.
It is not in our national interest. We have owned these islands since 1814. We are now paying to give away British territory. This is extraordinary. It's going to cost the taxpayer £30 billion. I'm absolutely outraged. Whenever Labour negotiates, Britain loses. And what I cannot believe is how this has happened. There were talks which Conservative ministers had, and we paused these negotiations. We stopped them because we said, no, we're not doing this. The reason why is because if you look at the letter and how it all started, it's reparations.
Critics also raised alarms over Mauritius's close ties to China, warning that the deal could open doors for foreign influence in the region. However, the agreement includes provisions to prevent any military presence by other powers on the islands. India, a steadfast supporter of Mauritius's sovereignty claim, welcomed the development, calling it a milestone in the region's decolonization and a triumph for international law. The US, too, has endorsed the deal, recognizing it as a practical solution to ensure the continuity of vital military operations. Behind the scenes, officials argue that the UK faced growing legal threats. With potential rulings looming from UN tribunals, continuing to defy international law could have jeopardized satellite communications, airspace access, and the long-term viability of Diego Garcia. Ministers feared a situation where contractors would refuse to service the base or international bodies could restrict operations. By conceding sovereignty now, on its own terms, the UK avoids a larger strategic loss. It preserves operational control, satisfies international legal obligations, and repairs diplomatic relationships strained by decades of defiance. This handover, then, is more than a territorial transfer. It is a moment of reckoning. For Chagosians, it's a long-awaited restoration of dignity. For the UK, it's a test of how a modern power confronts its colonial legacy. And for the world, it's a case study in how diplomacy and law can reshape geopolitics, even in the shadow of empire.